Have you ever noticed something that's just hiding in plain sight on pretty much every screen you look at? Well, today we're going to solve a little design mystery. Let's call it the case of the wandering checkbox. And it all starts with a really simple question. Just take a look at this tiny, unassuming checkbox. We see them absolutely everywhere. But have you ever, really stopped to think about where it's supposed to go? When you really think about it, you've only got two choices, right? On the left of the text or on the right. I know, it seems totally trivial. But as you're about to see, one of these choices is definitely the right one. And the other? Well, it can cause a whole cascade of problems.
All right, so let's get into it. This is our tale of two checkboxes. And believe me, it's a story that involves convention, psychology, and yeah, some pretty serious technical headaches.
Now, I get it. You're probably thinking, come on, it's just a box. But this one tiny choice, it has huge consequences for things like speed, for clarity, and even for a company's ability to sell their software around the world. The stakes are way higher than you'd think.
So, where do we look for the answer to this mystery? Well, it turns out there's a powerful, kind of unspoken rule that pretty much dictates where this little box is supposed to live. And you know what? The absolute titans of the software world, they've already made their choice. We're talking Microsoft Office, the company that pretty much invented this standard, all the way to its competitors like LibreOffice, and then you've got all the big names in accounting software like QuickBooks and Xero. And guess what? They all agree.
And the consistency here is what's really, really revealing. Microsoft, LibreOffice, QuickBooks, they all put the checkbox on the left. And they do it for a reason. It's better for scanning efficiency. It's consistent. That right-aligned box you sometimes see in older software, that is the clear outlier. It just completely goes against the established grain.
So this makes one thing absolutely clear. This is not just a matter of personal preference. No way. This is something that's baked into the very DNA of how modern software is designed, and frankly, how our brains have been trained to use it.
Okay, so why is it part of the DNA? That's a great question. And it brings us to the next really fascinating piece of the puzzle, designing for the human brain. You see, tons of research shows that our eyes don't actually read screens line by line. Not really. We scan them in what's known as an F-shaped pattern. We kind of look across the top, then we shoot our eyes down the left edge, and then we do these shorter little scans across the middle. So if you put the controls on that left edge, you're putting them directly in our natural line of sight. It's just easier.
So here's the crucial takeaway. Putting checkboxes on the left creates a fast lane. Your eye and your mouse can just zip right down a straight, predictable line. But when they're on the right, stuck after labels of all different lengths, you get a slow lane. Your eye has to jump all over the place, your brain has to work harder. It's just plain inefficient.
And listen, this is all backed by science. There's something called Fitts' law, which is a fundamental principle of, human-computer interaction. And what it proves is that hitting a target, like clicking a checkbox, is just faster when that target is in a predictable spot. So that perfectly straight, fast lane on the left, it's not just prettier, it is physically less work to use.
But you know what? Usability is only half the story. The biggest, most, frankly, jaw-dropping reason for this rule is what I like to call the 100-language problem.
Just think about this number for a second. The software this whole analysis was based on, it supports 105 different languages and regional variations. How on earth do you design a user interface that works for all of them?
Okay, so this is where it gets really complicated. When you translate something from English into other languages, the length of the text can just explode. A perfect example, the simple phrase "use barcode" in English becomes "barcode laser verwenden" in German. That's a 60% increase in length, just for two little words.
Now, if your checkbox is just sitting over there on the right, you get your first catastrophic failure. We'll call it the overlap. The translated text literally runs right over the box, completely breaking the layout and making the whole thing unusable. It's a disaster.
So to try and avoid the overlap, a developer might push the checkbox way out to the right, leaving enough room for the longest possible language they can imagine. And the result of that? You get the canyon. It's this huge, empty, just awkward gap that makes the interface look broken and scattered, even in English. It is a terrible, terrible trade-off.
So, it's pretty clear this small box has a massive impact, right? We're talking usability, accessibility, and a product's ability to even exist on a global scale. But the good news is, there is a simple, really elegant fix.
The solution breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, you anchor the checkbox on the left, give it a fixed, predictable home. Second, you let the text label just expand out to the right as much as it needs to. And third, this is the really clever part, you drop the unnecessary verb. And this final step is absolutely key. So instead of having a label that says use barcode printer, the label just becomes barcode printer. See, the checkbox itself implies the action, to use it or enable it. And this super simple change saves a huge amount of space, which, as we know, is absolutely critical when you're trying to support 105 languages. Ultimately, though, why does this matter so much? Because little details like this, they send a message. When a user sees inconsistent, poorly placed controls, it screams that the software is just a pretty face slapped on top of old, messy code. It really damages their trust and their whole perception of quality. So yeah, the case is pretty much closed. The checkbox belongs on the left. End of story. It's faster for our brains, it's more efficient for our hands, and it's absolutely essential for any software that wants to go global. And that just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What other tiny, invisible design choices like this are quietly shaping your digital world every single day?